Hello ladies and gentlemen, enjoy today's episode of Genesis of Lands. Watch, listen and learn, and don't forget to click the subscribe button and comment below on what you feel about today's video. Thank you very much.
There's a magical town in Mexico where the clouds come down to say hello, where every house is painted bright yellow, red, or blue, where grandmothers wear rainbow skirts they made with their own hands, where old stone streets curve like rivers between buildings that look like they jumped out of a storybook. High up in the mountains, so high that when you breathe the air feels thin and special. The local people call this place Jovel. It means the place in the clouds, because some mornings the fog rolls through the streets like a friendly ghost. But this beautiful town has two stories. One story is about colorful buildings and happy tourists. The other story is about brave people who never gave up fighting for what's right. Which story is true? Both of them. And that's what makes this place so special. A long time ago, before your great-great-great-great-great-grandparents were born, this valley belonged to people called the Tzotzil and Tzeltal. They grew corn on the mountainsides. They built homes. They had families. They were happy here. Then in 1524, soldiers came from Spain. They wore metal suits. They rode horses. They had weapons the local people had never seen before. The Spanish soldiers wanted to take the land for their king. They wanted everyone to speak Spanish and pray in Spanish churches. The Tzotzil and Tzeltal people said no. They fought back for 4 whole years. Imagine fighting for 4 years. That's longer than you've been in school. But the Spanish had better weapons. In 1528, after many people died, the fighting finally stopped. A Spanish commander named Diego de Mazariegos built a new town right in the valley. He called it Villa Real de Chiapas. That means royal town. It was a town for Spanish people to live in, not for the Tzotzil and Tzeltal families who had lived there first. The Spanish made the local people work for them. They took their land. They made them build churches and houses. It wasn't fair. It wasn't kind. Many people were very sad and angry. But then something surprising happened. In 1544, a priest named Bartolomé de las Casas came to the town. Now Bartolomé was Spanish. When he was young he had done bad things. He had owned slaves. He had been mean to indigenous people. But one day while reading his Bible he read something that changed his whole life. The Bible said, taking bread from poor people is like being a murderer. Bartolomé stopped. He thought about all the bad things he had done. And he decided to spend the rest of his life making up for it. He freed all his slaves. He became the loudest voice defending indigenous people. When he came to this town as a bishop, he did something no other Spanish priest had done. He told the Spanish settlers, "If you own slaves, I will not bless you. If you are mean to indigenous people, God is not happy with you." The Spanish settlers were so angry at him. They wanted him to leave. But Bartolomé didn't care. He kept fighting for what was right until he was an old man. Years after Bartolomé died in 1848, the people of the town decided to honor him. They changed the town's name to San Cristóbal de las Casas. That means Saint Christopher of the Houses. But really it was named after Bartolomé de las Casas, the bishop who fought for indigenous people. But changing a name doesn't fix everything. 400s of years after Bartolomé died, indigenous people in Chiapas were still treated unfairly. They couldn't go to good schools. They didn't have doctors when they were sick. They worked hard but stayed poor. The town had two sides. Spanish people lived in the nice part. Indigenous people lived in the poorer part. Have you ever felt like something wasn't fair and you wanted to do something about it? That's how the indigenous people felt. For a very long time. In 1994, something huge happened. On New Year's Day, while everyone was celebrating, thousands of people wearing masks walked out of the jungle. They were called Zapatistas. That's a big word that means fighters for justice. They marched into San Cristóbal. They weren't trying to hurt anyone. They were trying to get people to listen. They said, "We've been treated unfairly for 500 years. We want jobs. We want land. We want schools. We want doctors. We want to be treated like everyone else." The Mexican army came with helicopters and soldiers. There was fighting for a few days. Then both sides agreed to talk instead of fight. The Zapatistas went back to the jungle, but they didn't give up. They started their own schools, their own clinics, their own communities where they could live the way they wanted. Today if you visit San Cristóbal de las Casas, you'll see something amazing. You'll see those beautiful painted houses. You'll see a big yellow cathedral in the town square. You'll walk on bumpy stone streets that are hundreds of years old. But you'll also see indigenous women selling beautiful blankets and jewelry they made themselves. You'll hear people speaking Tzotzil and Tzeltal, languages that are even older than Spanish. You'll see kids in traditional clothing playing with kids in regular clothes. You'll see two worlds living together in one town. Some tourists just take pictures of the pretty buildings. But if you look closer, you'll see something more important. You'll see people who never gave up. People who kept their language alive even when others told them to forget it. People who kept making their traditional clothes even when others said they should dress differently. People who kept fighting for fairness, even when it took 500 years. San Cristobal is like a book with two stories written on top of each other. One story is about Spanish conquistadors building a town. The other story is about indigenous people surviving, resisting, and keeping their culture alive. Both stories are true. Both stories matter. So here's a question for you. When you see something beautiful, do you just look at how pretty it is? Or do you ask, what's the story behind this? Who built it? Who lived here? What happened to make it this way? The people of San Cristobal want you to remember both stories. The pretty buildings and the brave people. The colorful walls and the hard history. Because remembering everything, even the sad parts, helps us understand how to make the world more fair. San Cristobal de las Casas. The town in the clouds. Where Spanish conquerors built churches. Where a kind bishop fought for justice. Where indigenous people never stopped being indigenous. Where tourists buy beautiful crafts from the grandchildren of warriors. Where two worlds live on the same streets, speaking different languages, but sharing the same sky. Walk through this town. Look at the yellow cathedral. Taste the sweet tamales. Buy a colorful bracelet from a grandmother who made it herself. And remember, this place is beautiful not just because of its painted walls. It's beautiful because of the people who refused to disappear. The people who said, we belong here. We've always belonged here. And we always will. That's the real magic of San Cristobal. It's not just pretty, it's strong, it's brave. It's alive with two histories happening at the same time. And that makes it one of the most special places in the whole world.